Okay, great. So hello, everyone, and welcome once again to another feature, very special feature on Dare to Fulfill Your Dreams. And I do have a wonderful guest here, very aspiring young woman here with us on Dare to Fulfill Your Dreams. I am Susan Cambridge, and thank you so much for joining us. So my very special guest today, her name is Natasha Saddleback, and Natasha is from Indigenous background. She has been doing a wealth of things that she's been pursuing and fulfilling her dreams, really. And we'd like to have a chat with her today, let her share her story. And of course, I know absolutely she's going to inspire someone out there. So very warm welcome to the program, Natasha. Welcome to Dare to Fulfill Your Dreams. So Natasha, you are Indigenous background. Tell us a little bit about that culture and the importance of diversity and inclusion from where you sit.
So yeah, I'm Indigenous. I'm from a reserve called Samson Cree Nation, and it's just like in central Alberta. So for me, culture and diversity is so important because I was raised in foster care. So I was raised in a white home in a white community. The home that I had lived in, they were Lutheran, and so I never lived on my reserve, and I never really had the opportunity to experience the culture. My foster family, they were slightly, they had very limiting beliefs and old beliefs. And so I grew up with those same beliefs because I didn't know any better. And so that really affected my life in a really negative way. And it wasn't until I was I started my 30s, and I'm 34 now. And so it wasn't until I was in my 30s that my life was kind of crazy. I had all of these limiting beliefs. I didn't know where I fit in my culture, like my people, because there's still so much, there's still, like, I'm sure a lot of you guys have heard of the residential schools and all of that stuff that's happening in the news right now. And so there's still so much like anger towards Caucasian people. And so to them, I acted white, and so they didn't accept me. And then to white people, well, I look Indigenous. And so it was really, really hard for them to accept me as well. And so I didn't really know where I fit in for like most of my life. And then, so I had a lot of problems and issues. And then when I finally decided, I'm going to heal, I'm going to change, I'm tired of this life that I'm living right now. And so I started to return to my culture. I started to kind of surpass those limiting beliefs that were so like ingrained in me. And I returned to the spirituality. I returned to sweat lodge ceremonies. I started to like unmask the truth, which was that our people are spiritual, and there's so much goodness there. And so so the last few years, it's just been a journey to experience, being Indigenous and having pride in being Indigenous, and just, like shedding all of those racist negative beliefs that I once had. And you know what, I know that I'm not the only person. Indigenous people aren't the only people that have had people like feel this way.
Absolutely. So you took some time before you got to that journey of empowering yourself to go back to your Indigenous cultural roots and take it back and feel proud and I suppose, for want of better words, find yourself again. Now, did you have someone helping you along that journey? And more so, or did you rely fully on your strength? What helped you through the process? I think that's what that's what I'm looking at. What helped you through the process?
You know, everybody has such a different story. I find when it comes to like how they come onto their like healing journey. And for me, um, I I was in recovery. I had started recovery for addictions. And so that was part of that was, you know, being in like Alcoholics Anonymous. And then just kind of by talking about that through my Facebook, I got invited to a sweat lodge ceremony. And then I started going to this one sweat lodge ceremony. And then I just kind of started going every weekend. And so it was pretty much with my like newfound faith, I guess.
Yes.
Alcoholics Anonymous, and then just practicing being spiritual is really what helped me find my way, I guess.
Find yourself and find peace. So Natasha, you're here. There is a whole success story behind you. So tell us a little bit about your present situation now, and I guess the success story behind it. Yes, there are challenges, but let's hear a little bit about the positives, what you're doing now in terms of your personal family, and in terms of now how you're taking all this newness in terms of finding yourself, the importance of your Indigenous culture, and now you're well on your way to your success story.
Yeah, so I returned, like I had started post-secondary 12 years ago, and I quit because that was just something that I did. I didn't believe in myself, and so I quit. So I returned, and I'm now in my last year of my Bachelor of Business Administration, and so I'll be done in April. Additionally, I guess, what was it, 2.5 years ago, two years ago, maybe, yeah, about 2 years ago, I was randomly asked to plan a fashion show for an Indigenous youth conference. And so it was kind of just out of nowhere. I had no experience, and I was supposed to actually help I was partnered with somebody, but as it turned out, that person was super busy. And so it was just kind of me. Like, of course, I got some help. There was this African lady that I knew, and she had experience in the industry. She had a modeling agency at the time, and so I asked for her help. And so with their help, she kind of showed me how to plan a fashion show. And so we did this amazing fashion show in a period of like 3 months for this Indigenous youth conference. About 12 Indigenous designers, all the Indigenous models. And I had never, so it was a lot of work. But then when the show was on and when it was done, I was in complete awe, because honestly, I'd never seen anything like that before. And I had never seen my culture shown like that before. Like, I had experienced, sweat lodges and ceremonial life, but in terms of like the culture in that,
from a fashion point of view,
art, like an art form, somewhat. And so I was like, this is where I want to be. This is what I want to do. And so again, that was 2 years ago. I did help a couple other people. There was a lady who wanted to have a black mixed vibes fashion show for Black History Month last year before COVID had happened. So I had helped her with that. And so there was like some African designers, Filipino designer, and Indigenous designers. And so and then I think there's just a couple other shows that I had helped with. So that kind of also started, I decided, I wanted to do fashion shows. So I created Project Unity.
Yeah.
And so we are in the process, like we did have an event planned, Project Unity Arts and Culture Festival and market. And the point of that was to pretty much not just have like local performances that promote that showcase diversity, but also like vendors, and more specifically fashion designers, because there was going to be like 15-minute fashion shows throughout the entire thing as well. Because of COVID, we had to postpone it. And
so your heart in all of this, because you're bringing up a part of this that's I'm not too familiar. I have an experience as well. This whole fashion that represents the indigenous culture. I'm sort of intrigued by that. What are some of the expectations that people can see when you talk about fashion in the indigenous culture that I'm sure makes it so wowing? You know, because I've seen other things in their dance and their performance and their cultural things, but I've never seen it in a fashion night. What is that like?
I mean, it's like some of the designers, they incorporate so much like a modern flair to a lot of their designs. And then they have the cultural aspect to it as well. So we'll have like syllabics and other cultural aspects to it. And, you know, it's very similar to like, you know, African or other Caribbean designers. You know, there's a Filipino designer that we had worked as well, who had they were modernized, but they had some of their like they promoted pride in their culture in their through their designs. Like it was an art form. And
how did that make you feel, you know, knowing that you know finding your roots and you know seeing this come out and you have the ability to bring it to the forefront? How did that make you feel?
It made me feel amazing. I think that the best part of it is that, and what like makes me just want to do it is because you know, history, not just with indigenous people, has shown that things can be taken, right, from a group of people, but in terms of the culture and something that somebody creates, and how their pride shows through that, that can't be taken.
Yes.
That is not something that can be taken. And so when a designer showcases their art and their culture on a runway, it's there for everybody. Right. And it's beautiful and it's amazing and nobody can deny that.
Absolutely. So now you've taken your challenges and you've turned it into a success story. And now you have this Project Unity event that I would say is only on hold until things, you know, the situation changes a bit, because certainly that is something near and dear to your heart. So what is your ultimate dream in terms of moving forward with what you've created here and what you want to showcase to the world? And for you as a female in the culture, in the industry, where would you like this to go? What's your ultimate dream with this?
That, all honesty, is something I'm still working on. At NATE, they have, which is the college that I'm going to, they have a program called the Maji Blue Book program, because they have like a huge entrepreneurship section. And so through this program that I was accepted into, it's like separate from my actual degree. They take you from the business idea to a business launch, from a period of 8 months, I think. So from October until April of next year. And so you have like weekly tasks. And so with Project Unity, I'm using these resources to create that map. And so I'm sure if you were to, you know, have this conversation with me in like early next year, I would have a better answer for you. But as of like right now, it's just like I'm still trying to map it out. I guess the one thing that I do know is that I just want to showcase these designers fashion to the world. I want to showcase the culture, not just indigenous people, but you know, all cultures that showed their pride through their art that they do.
Yes. Now, you mentioned earlier that you were not singular in trying to showcase your culture, your talents, you know, an entrepreneur, a leader in this industry. What has been the feedback like working with other other people in the industry, but from different diverse cultures? What has been the connecting like, the networking like, and what have been some of the things that you've heard in terms of them trying to break through and do the same thing that you're doing, if not separately, but together with you?
You know, I think the one things that, like, for one thing, there is really no fashion event planners around. There's event planners, but not specifically ones that know how to plan a fashion event. So there's that. But in terms of like designers, a lot of them, because I did do some surveys, they don't know where shows are. Like they aren't quite as networked to know where fashion shows are, to know where they can showcase their art other than social media. But like specific events, like they would love to be able to showcase their art somewhere.
So are you open to people connecting with you, collaborating with you, so that fashion events within cultures, I think that is what the Project Unity is based on, a combination of fashion and culture and cultural events combined. Am I correct with that?
Yes, for sure. Yeah. Specifically fashion. I don't want to get, I want to keep it like singular so that it's not
Yes,
confusing anybody, but it's
right.
specific on fashion and culture.
Right. And so let's talk about women taking leadership roles, especially for those who think they're in the minority. I mean, I consider myself being in the minority at times. What bit of advice would you give to women coming from different cultural backgrounds if you feel in a minority, they have a dream to fulfill, but somehow they haven't found the ability yet to just push forward and jump in, or take reins of it and just move forward the way you have done?
I think that, I used to assist lawyers, and one of the lawyers that I assisted, he was Indian, and he had given me some advice, and it was that, as a person of color, you need to try like 10 times harder. And I honestly, I disagree. This was years ago, and I disagree. I think that shedding those like limiting beliefs that that things are different for us, as soon as we start like thinking that, then that's what it becomes. Like, you see everything as being like different for us.
Right.
Like, if you just shed that belief, that it's harder for us, it's different for us, and start seeing things as like, like, I can do that. I just have to take
Absolutely.
one at a time, and it's not going to be difficult. It's just a tiny little step.
Right, absolutely. Well, I think that's great advice, because what you're saying, let us not be our own hindrances, remove any inhibitions, any thoughts of negativity or constraints, and just be the best version of yourself and move forward. So now I know you do a very balancing act. You've got kids, you have a family, and that's a whole lot of skills all by itself while you're trying to do all of that. So tell us, what's the secret of being successful and still balancing all that you do? Family, the children, your studies, your different projects. What it is that makes it so awesome for you? What's the secret?
Yeah, I do have 5 kids. I have 4. So I have 3 boys, 1 girl, and 1 stepson. And so I'm not gonna lie, things not all my days are like, oh, like amazing. But when things aren't good, I take time for myself. Like,
Okay.
I do the things that I've had to learn to do, especially like in early recovery. It was so important for me to learn tools like to take care of myself, because if I'm not okay, then nobody else around me is going to be okay. And there's no way that I can take care of uh, myself, let alone little tiny children. And so my spouse, he's so great. He's also in recovery with me, and he's so great to support me and say, like you need a break. Like he'll run me a bath, and he'll go to meetings with me. We do the sweat lodges, the ceremony life, the praying, the gratitude affirmations.
Right.
All of those things are so important to do on a consistent daily basis, and not letting any of those things kind of like go on the side lines, because that's when things start getting like dangerous.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, Natasha, you've certainly come up with a formula, or use all the tools of the coping skills, and you've shared it with us, and I want to thank you for that. That's absolutely amazing, because this show is all about sharing the stories, and so that we can help women along the way. In your case, you did not actually migrate from one place to the next, but there's also migration of the mind. You have grown, and you have chosen to different choices, and you have followed your dreams, and you have followed your heart. And so this is where you are today, feeling purpose driven, and knowing what you want and working on it. And I think that's absolutely amazing. And I want to thank you so much for sharing your story with us today. Now, in moving forward, is there anything else that you would like to share with us in terms of cultural background, burning issues, a little bit more about what you're pursuing that we haven't covered yet? What else is there that you'd like to share with us?
I think, just that as an Indigenous person, and as an Indigenous person that's returned to the culture, and to the people, it really helped me connect with other people and to other cultures a lot more. I feel like with everything that's going on with the Indigenous people right now, a lot of people of different cultures that have migrated here, they didn't know a lot of this stuff.
Yes.
And so they're like, what? Oh, okay, like this is good to know. And they're reaching out. So I found I found through the planning of even this last show that there was quite a few people of different cultures that were reaching out to me and wanting to be a part of it, because they were starting to become educated about like the history of Indigenous people and what actually happened. And so I want to say, like, that the Indigenous people and people that have like migrated here, like especially people of color, like there's so much in common, and there's so much empathy and like understanding that is there. And that if we could all just like support each other and understand each other and like help each other, then there's so much that we can all accomplish together.
I totally agree with you, Natasha. Like I'm here in Lloydminster. I'm also a member of the Lloydminster Native Friendship Center. I have bonded with people, I've made friends, and I have learned a lot. I have also observed certain traditions and certain things about their cultures that are very heartwarming. Like, for instance, the importance of relating to the ancestors, and how that connection is still very present, and not that, this was so long ago, so it doesn't connect to the present. I've learned that the past and the history and the ancestors of the past are very much connected to life moving forward in the present. And I mean, that is just from simple observation and being around them. But I want to ask you, what's the one special thing that you hold near and dear, something in particular about the Indigenous culture, as someone who came to knowing it, not from very young, but from at this stage of your life, much, much later in life, what is the one thing that reaches out to you in one characteristics about the culture that you hold on to, that really resonates with you?
I think it's just the connection to our mother. When we talk about the culture and the ceremony life, a lot of it is in reference to our mother and, you know, the spirit that everything has, and that is, you know, the spider, the trees, you know, and it all almost becomes like this mystical thing once you really start to like practice it, and it's magical.
Absolutely. Well, that's one beautiful way of putting it. I mean, I guess, you know, the way that I explained my experience, I guess, is magical too, because I constantly remain in awe, but fully understand how they accept it and why it is so important to them. So Natasha, I want to say thank you so very much for joining us today on Dare to Fulfill Your Dreams. We have certainly learned a lot. We have shared your story, and I want to wish you all the best. And I know that you will do excellent in moving forward, and a lot of women and entrepreneurs and women who just want to empower themselves can learn a lot from you. So thank you so much, and good blessings to you in all that you do.
Thank you so much.